Tomorrow by Ksenia. Cartoons, Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir rated M, English, Romance and Drama, Marinette DC. Ladybug, Adrian A. Cat Noir, words, 42k plus, faves, 332, follows, 414, published, February 7, 2016 updated, May 30, 2016 359 Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Saving. Green eyes blinked down at Sapphire's. Her intense gaze was steady on his as she froze on the ground. Adrian was breathing hard on top of Ladybug, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he tried to reactivate his brain. He tackled her for a reason, but the moment their eyes connected he felt like a fried computer. It was only until there was a loud smash followed by maniacal laughter that their attention was redirected elsewhere. Oh yeah, there was an Akuma. Adrian saved Ladybug from an Akuma. Why you need to get out of here? It's not safe, Ladybug said authoritatively as she shimmied out from under him. He nodded, his tongue numb as he rushed to his feet and helped her up. Thank you for your help, but I'll take care of it from here. Chad Noir should be here any minute now, she assured him. He nodded again, feeling like a broken record as he studied the intensity of her eyes. She was so serious and quick-thinking and just perfect. The heroine turned him around and pushed him away and he finally regained function in his legs. He ran off to the nearest cover away from the battle and looked down at his kwami in his shirt. Plag, claws out. Adrian sighed as he leaned back in his computer chair. He had been glued to the Ladybug ever since he got home. Pictures from the recent fight was already up. He had no idea how Aaliyah got such clear shots of him as Adrian on top of Ladybug. The caption read competition for Chad Noir, which made him smirk. He knew she wasn't interested in Chad Noir, but he doubted she felt anything for Adrian either. She probably didn't even know him in real life. There's a chance they're not even the same age. She could be a college student for all he knew, or already in a well-developed career. That could explain why he put her off with his flirting. She probably saw him as too young for her and didn't want to waste her time. He didn't blame her. If it was the other way around and she was in like middle school while he was still in high school, he wouldn't be too into her either. He sighed again and clicked off the blog before turning off the computer. His mind returned to that 30 seconds of contact with her. Her bright blue eyes so focused and sharp and her head so clear while he couldn't even speak. She probably thought he was an imbecile or a low-functioning member of society. What if she didn't know he was a model? What if she didn't know who Adrian Agreste was? He was so starstruck when confronted with her as Adrian. Is that what his fans felt like? No wonder none of them made sense. Their mouths weren't connected to their brains, but even if it was, their thinking skills were be dead anyways. He suddenly had a new appreciation for the people who could compose themselves around famous people. Adrian spent the rest of the afternoon completing his homework, and finished the night with dinner by himself and a shower. He spent some time looking at himself in the mirror and playing around with his hair and expressions before drying himself off. As he walked to his drawer, he whistled and tucked the towel he used to dry his hair around his waist. He didn't think much about walking across his room naked since it was pretty dark and no one could take pictures from how high his room was. Although it never occurred to him a certain red heroine was watching outside his wall of windows. It was only until he had pulled out his boxers and t-shirt for the night did the red hue catch the corner of his eye. He nearly choked on his own spit when he looked over to see Ladybug outside his window. She was red in the face and had her hands over her eyes. The heroine peeked through her fingers and nearly blended in with her suit when they made eye contact. What was she doing here? She covered her eyes again and he quickly tossed his towel to pull up his underwear and tugged his shirt over his head. His hair was still a little damp, but he didn't care as he rushed over to open the window for her. She uncovered her eyes and were both silent as they stared at each other. Cold air rushed into his room and he shivered. Sorry to intrude, she murmured. He shook his head. It's okay. You're not intruding, he assured her. She frowned. Come inside, it's freezing, he urged and held out his hand for her. She accepted his offer and crawled through his window and into his large room. He closed the window behind her and took a deep breath before facing her. She looked embarrassed yet composed. She didn't slouch or draw into herself to make herself smaller like an ordinary person might have done in this situation. Then again, Ladybug wasn't an ordinary person. I didn't know you were taking a shower. I just wanted to stop by and see if you're okay from earlier, she informed him. Oh, I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me, he assured again. She actually cared about his well-being enough to visit him hours later to make sure he was okay. That put butterflies in his stomach. Okay, I also came to thank you for saving me. That was very brave and noble of you, and I'm very grateful that you were there to push me out of the way, she continued. His face felt hot from her kind words and he scratched the back of his head. Oh, no problem. I was just making sure you were okay, he said and then laughed nervously. It felt so weird being so awkward around Ladybug. For some reason his Chat Noir charm wouldn't come out when he was just Adrian. She smiled. It was very kind of you. I wish I had more than words to show you my appreciation, she replied. He blinked and then blushed furiously at the thought that crossed his mind. He was absolutely not going to ask her for a kiss. It just wasn't happening. You don't need to do anything more. Your kind words are more than enough, he stuttered as the thought provoked him. Well, do you have a pen and something to write on? I could give you an autograph, she offered. An autograph. Like her handwriting. He could see her handwriting. Yes, I do, he replied and walked over to grab a pen from his desk and a random piece of paper. He returned and handed her the two items. Awesome, she said and took the pen and paper and signed it. When she handed it back he grinned. Her signature was a quick drawing of a literal ladybug. He chuckled. That's cute, he said and then looked at her. Her cheeks turned pink. Thanks. I can't have people trying to match my handwriting now, can I? She winked. That's really clever, but you can never doodle ladybugs in your civilian life, he pointed out. She giggled. That is true. Have you seen those pictures of people getting their body signed? He asked. Yeah, do you want me to sign your body too? She grinned. He nodded. That would be awesome, he grinned back. She giggled and took the cap off the pen again. Sure thing, handsome boy. Just tell me where you want me to sign, she replied. He blushed when she called him handsome boy, but lifted his shirt regardless. Here would be great, he told her pointing to his hip. She nodded and got down on her knees to run the permanent marker over his skin. The heroine couldn't help but blush when she noticed how toned he was. Being a model, a flat stomach was expected, but she was surprised to see the faint yet promising outlines of abs on his skin. She had to resist running her fingers over his abdomen to make sure they were real as she drew the same cute little ladybug on his hip. Any reason you want me to sign here? She asked as she recapped the pen and returned to her feet. It's not very visible. I have a photo shoot tomorrow, he explained. That makes sense. I've read a few of the magazines you've posed in. The camera absolutely loves you, she said. She put away the though that a few magazines translated to hundreds. Really? I didn't think you would spend your time reading fashion magazines. I enjoy them from time to time, she replied vaguely. She had to be careful with the information she gave him. That's cool, he trailed off as he further examined her eyes. They were sharp, yet soft at the same time. The color put the finest jewels to shame, and the shape was a unique mix of Eastern Asian and European. She must have Asian. That would make sense with her dark hair. Her features were absolutely gorgeous from her sparkling eyes to her lovely lips. Freckles were speckled just under her mask and over her nose, and her cheeks were a rosy pink color. He wanted more than anything to see the girl behind the mask, but knew she would probably never tell him. His eyes settled on her lips as he felt himself come closer to her. Ladybug blinked up at him and kept her place. Adrian bit his lip as he stood there staring at her and taking in her beauty. She allowed him to and stepped closer herself. He smelled clean, but that was expected considering he just got out of the shower. Still she liked his scent and glanced down at his lips too. They were tempting and soft looking. She took another step forward and pushed herself up on her toes to kiss his cheek. It was gentle and soft, and Adrian nearly melted from the light peck. Thanks again, but I have to get going now, she told him as she pulled away. He nodded, his face a brilliant shade of red. Oh okay. But, I'd like to see you again soon, she said. He nodded. Yeah, sure. Of course, how soon is soon thought? He asked. She smiled. I'll see you tomorrow, she answered. He smiled back at her. Okay, tomorrow, he repeated. She giggled and then kissed his cheek a second time. You're very cute, Adrian agreed, she said before turning to walk back to the window and opening it. He watched as she jumped up and crouched on the end of the panel and looked back at him. I'll see you tomorrow, he blurted. She grinned. Tomorrow.